This is the Villa 9215 alternating current direct current 12-volt urine diverting high-capacity waterless composting toilet. It keeps a shared camp bathroom smelling like nothing at all while a dozen people cycle through every weekend, and it asks very little in return besides a bit of routine care. I think of this as a serious, water-free toilet for anyone who cannot or does not want to run a septic system. It is built for off-grid cabins, campsites, remote builds, and any place where water is limited or hauling a black tank sounds miserable. I use it in a small bathhouse at our camping area, and I chose it because a traditional septic field was not practical on our terrain. I wanted something that would feel normal to guests, keep the place clean, and stand up to the kind of traffic that happens when the weather gets good and people show up. The physical design is straightforward and focused on daily comfort. The seat is full size, so you sit the way you normally would. The bowl has a subtle shape that guides liquids forward and solids down, and that shape matters a lot because it keeps smells under control and makes cleanup predictable. There is a quiet fan built into the body that pulls air out through a vent pipe. The vent exits straight up and out in my setup, so the air path is short and efficient. Around back there is a small fitting for the liquid drain, and that line ties into a gray water system. The footprint is about the same as a standard toilet, which helped me tuck it into a modest bathroom without rearranging the room. The power side is flexible. You can run it from a direct current 12-volt source or from alternating current with the included parts, so it adapts as your site evolves. Setting it up felt more like a lightweight plumbing job than a construction project. I set the unit, ran the vent line through the ceiling, and extended it outside where the wind can take whatever the fan kicks out. I ran a simple white pipe along the back of the bathhouse to carry the liquid line into the wash water plumbing that our shower already uses. For power, I started with a battery in the early days, then moved to a wired connection once we got proper power out to the site. None of that required special tools beyond a saw for the vent hole and some sealant. The only part I took my time with was sealing the vent joints tightly, because any little leak in that path can reduce the pull of the fan and let odors drift. Once set, you do not have to babysit it. The fan just runs and the bathroom stays neutral. The seat height feels natural. Kids and older family members could use it without a step stool or awkward gymnastics. The habit change is really just for the men who are used to standing, because sitting is the way to keep the urine diverter doing its job. Day to day, the core performance is about separation and airflow. Liquids go forward and out to a drain, where I blend them with the water from the shower. That dilution and routing keeps any liquid smell from concentrating. Solids fall into a lined container that lives under the top. The fan constantly pulls air past that area and out the vent, so there is never a moment where the space feels stale. The fan hum is barely there, more like a soft whoosh than motor noise, and it fades into the background once you shut the door. The fan has been reliable through summers of dust and humidity. Airflow is strong enough that on a warm day I can feel air pulling inward when I crack the bathroom door. That is the sign the system is doing exactly what it should. Maintenance is simple. The manufacturer suggests sending some vinegar down the wet side now and then. I keep a small bottle nearby and pour a bit to keep scale and soap residue from building up. On the solid side, the container only gets attention when it is full. When that time comes, I lift the top, secure the container with the cover, lift it out, and take care of disposal. I usually rinse the container before putting it back, because a few stray drops can find their way in during heavy use. With our crowd, which is usually around 12 people every summer weekend, I only have to do that a couple of times across an 11-week stretch. That rhythm feels very manageable. There are weekends when we have bursts of heavy traffic. We once ran about 30 people through most of a day, and the unit never fell behind. For our wedding, we had roughly 70 guests, and I did bring in a porta potty to share the load. But the villa kept pace, and there were no smell issues, even with constant door swings and people coming in from a hot afternoon. I have used this in rain, in muggy heat, and in cool nights where you can see your breath. In heavy humidity, I notice a little more condensation on the vent cap outside, but the interior still smells neutral. When we had a stretch of cold mornings, I wrapped a short section of the vent with insulation to stop any dew from sneaking back down the pipe, and that worked fine. The liquid's line has stayed clear in my install because it slopes well and ties into warm gray water, but if you plan to use it through freezing weather, that line deserves extra thought. Slope, insulation, and access matter. The fan has run for seasons without needing attention. I check the vent screen at the top of the pipe once a month for lint or leaves. Clear screen, happy fan. The way this fits into daily life is almost boring, and that is a compliment. People walk in, do their thing, wash their hands, and walk out. No one has to fiddle with levers or remember a special sequence. For an off-grid weekend, the routine is simple. I crack the door in the morning, listen for the faint fan sound, and that tells me everything is powered. I make sure there is vinegar handy, and I keep an eye on the container fill level. On Sunday before we lock up, if the bag is getting there, I change it so we start the next weekend fresh. That is it. No chemicals to buy, no tanks to haul, no surprise blockages. There are little touches I appreciate after years of use. The way liquids and wash water share a path in my bathhouse means I am not reinventing plumbing. The fan pulls from the right place, so the seat never meets a wall of air when you sit down. The vent going straight up works beautifully. It is the shortest, most effective route. Power flexibility saved me twice. When a battery died early on, I could switch to a tiny inverter and keep the fan moving until we sorted out the wiring. Later, when power came in, moving to a wired source was a non-event. That kind of modularity is practical, not flashy. It is not perfect. The fan, while quiet, is still a steady sound in a very small room. I do not mind it, but in the dead of night, some people notice it. There is a learning curve for guests who have never seen a urine diverting bowl. A short note on the door that says "Please sit" takes care of that. If the vent joints are not sealed well, even a tiny gap can create a soft smell in the room, so taking time on the install matters more than you might expect. Very light users might forget the vinegar routine and let mineral deposits build on the wet side. Setting a reminder on the phone every couple of weeks has solved that for me. And if you pack the container too tightly, the liner can snag when you remove it. Leaving a little room and not overfilling has been the smarter move. My most honest measure is how it handled real events. We had a run of back-to-back weekends with around 12 people, kids running in and out from the lake, sunscreen and sand, wet towels everywhere. The bathroom stayed clean because the air was always moving out, not swirling around the room. We hosted an afternoon with about 30 people, and I kept a quiet eye on the system. It stayed anonymous. That is the highest praise. At the wedding, the backup porta potty helped with crowd control, but the villa was the toilet people sought out because the room felt fresher. If I tally the summer, across about 11 weeks, I emptied the container 2 or 3 times. That is not a chore that dominates the weekend. It is a chore you knock out in a few minutes and move on. This is the kind of product I recommend when someone tells me they are building a small cabin, when they have a tricky site, or when their water situation is unreliable. If you want a water-free toilet that feels familiar, holds up under steady use, and does not make your bathroom smell like a project, this one delivers. If you are planning to host very large crowds all the time, you will want to supplement it or be ready for more frequent changes. But for family gatherings, camping groups, and seasonal use, it strikes a smart balance between capacity and simplicity. You can find detailed information about the Villa 9215 ACDC 12V Urine Diverting High-Capacity Waterless Composting Toilet in the comments section. See you in the next video.